The class is in memory of Jared Orchen, as we say every week. Today we're going to learn about the concept of a minyan. Where the minyan is coming from. There's a few places in the Torah. Then we see how it reflects in so many, many things. The first place that we see a minyan, the concept of 10, is in this week's Parsha. Where we see it? In the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's read a little bit about the story. It's page 81. It's really interesting that the Parsha of this week starts with the three angels who come to tell Abraham the best news. And right after that, Abraham hears the worst news. And it's interesting, the good news, God sends an angel to tell him. The bad news, God himself tells him. Right? We see it, a similar thing by the Akedah too. The bad news, so to speak, to sacrifice his son, God himself tells him. To save him, not to sacrifice him, the angel tells him. The same thing twice. God is telling him, let's start here, and it starts on page 81, number 16. Want to read?
The strangers got up from their place and gazed at Sodom. Abraham went with them to send them on their way. God said, "Shall I hide from Abraham what I'm going to do? Abraham is about to become a great and mighty nation, and through him all the nations of the world will be blessed. I have given him special attention so that he will command his children and his household after him, and they will keep God's way, doing charity and justice. God will then bring about for Abraham everything he promised."
God says, why I'm going to tell Abraham what I tell him? Because I love him. Not I give him special attention. It's an interesting translation. Ki yedativ, Rashi said, because I love him. Why I love him? Not because he was ready to be thrown into the furnace. Not because he was ready to sacrifice his son. Because he's going to command, I know that he will command his children to continue in the ways of charity and justice. Then educating your children, God loves you because he knows you will educate your children. That's what it's all about.
So is Abraham then the model of what he's doing is the model of justice for all of us in terms of our conduct?
And it's interesting that he mentions here charity before justice. Everywhere else in the Torah, whenever it's mentioned mishpat u'tzedakah. The only place it's written, I think by Jeremiah, and there is other places, the only place it's written charity before justice is here. And in the prayers we say, in the Amidah, Melech ohev tzedakah u'mishpat, right? King who loves charity and justice. When the charity is before the justice, then the justice is much more merciful. But with the justice before the charity, it might get dangerous. That's why charity is to be before justice. That was Abraham. But that's a side note. There is a lot to be discussed about it, but we don't want to get lost. Okay, therefore, because God loves them, because he will educate his children, that God tells them, continue, God said to him,
God then said, "The outcry against Sodom is so great and their sin is so very grave, I will descend and see. Have they done everything implied by the outcry that is coming before me? If not, I will know."
God tells Abraham, Sodom and Gomorrah, it's terrible what's going on there. The law in Sodom was that nobody is allowed to give charity. The law of the land. Anybody caught giving charity will be put to death. It's one thing people don't want to give charity. It's another thing. They made it legal. They made it law. That's what happened in Nazi Germany. They made it law that Jews are now not allowed to do that. Everything was by law. Everything was organized. That was the law of the land, not to give charity.
Why does it say it's the same thing when God says, "I'm going to descend and see"? Obviously, he doesn't have to.
Descend means
he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to descend.
You're right, but descend means yes, he gives more attention to it. He goes down. For God to get into what the people of Sodom are doing is a descending. To go to such, they descended and therefore they schlepped God with them. When human beings descend, when human beings go bad, they don't say, I'll leave God in shul and I'll do whatever I want. The language that, especially Jewish people, the language that's written in Tanya is that when a person is doing a sin, it's like taking the head of God and put them down inside the toilet.
Right.
That's the language. Why? You cannot say, oh, now I'm not Jewish, now I'm Joshua, tomorrow I'll come to shul, I'll be Jewish. It doesn't work like this. God is with you, and it's not only about Jews, it's really about every human being. Then God is descending. When they bring humanity so low, they bring God low. Because God gives them life. God doesn't stop to give them life. It's like the story with Noah, with the flood, when they forced God to create babies who were not legitimate babies, and so on and on and on. Then God has a system, and you take the system and you twist it the wrong way. Then you force God to help you to do the wrong things. That you're descending God. Okay.
The men turned from there they were and headed towards Sodom. Abraham was still standing before God. He came forward and said, "Will you actually wipe out the innocent together with the guilty? Suppose there are 50 innocent people in the city. Would you still destroy it and not spare the place for that sake of the 50 good people inside it?"
Abraham started to argue with God. Basically, he says, God, is this fair? Are you going to kill the innocent with the guilty? But on the account of the innocent, he wanted to save the guilty too.
It's interesting that Abraham takes this tact of the merit of the righteous here, because Moses doesn't do that later on. Moses says, yeah, they're bad, but save them anyway.
Moses learned already. Moses learned from Abraham that it didn't work. Okay, continue. Let's finish this paragraph. It would be
sacrilege even to ascribe such an act to you, to kill the innocent with the guilty, letting the righteous and the wicked fare alike. It would be sacrilege to ascribe this to you. Shall the whole world judge not act justly?
okay. Then Abraham is telling Hashem, if the judge of the world will not act justice, will not do justice, is it fair? For 50 righteous people,
5 cities.
okay, okay, then why 50 righteous people? What's the logic of 50?
There were 5 cities, 10 each.
There were 5 cities, 10 each. Okay,
What do you mean 5 cities?
they
There
were
are 5 cities
Sodom
of
and
Sodom,
Gomorrah.
yeah.
They're already scholars, all of them here.
Okay.
There is Sodom, Gomorrah, there is 5 cities, Admot, Zvoim, and Zoyar. 5 cities, there were 5 suburbs. Sodom was the city, and there were another 4 suburbs around it, East Cleveland, and all around.
Oh, okay.
Then he wanted, the idea was, why 50? Why not 40? Why not 60? Because Abraham was believing that 10 for each city will take 10 people. And 10 will save the city.
Even I was going to say, even if, forget about the 10 for a moment, Abraham wanted to save the righteous, the wicked,
By the righteous.
because I've read that because he thought, like you said, he's the optimist, he could do tshuva. So these wicked people, because if he just saves the righteous with the wicked are still wicked.
Your wicked are still wicked. Many wicked benefit from the righteous only who lives next door. It's not a new thing. It's always like this. Sometimes the righteous suffer for the wicked. But what God told them? What does God answer, Martel?
God said, "If I find 50 innocent people in Sodom, I will spare the entire area for their sake."
You know what God is telling them? Okay, Abraham, we'll go with you. You put the rules. You make the rules. I'm not making the rules. Let's go with your measurement. It again shows that God lets human make the call the judgment. And they end up to be, even on their judgment, they're not right. God is so kind and merciful. He tells the person, okay, fine, we'll go with your judgment. And even by his own judgment, it doesn't work. God told Abraham, what you say? We'll go with you. What do you say, 50? Find 50. Couldn't find 50. Okay. Continue. Go ahead.
The gender on this, it is men, right? It's
No,
not,
no.
Or is it could be men or women?
Yeah, Hamishim Tzadikim, it means 5 righteous people. It's not really men. No, here it's not written men, for sure not. In this context, it means 50 righteous people. 50 righteous people.
Abraham spoke up and said, I have already said too much before my Lord. I am mere dust and ashes. But suppose there are 5 missing from the 50 innocent. Will you destroy the entire city because of the 5?
Okay, then what was the logic here of 45?
9 each.
9 each, and
God is the 10th.
God will be the 10th.
Is that where that comes from?
From there it's coming, yeah? God should be the 10th. Okay, so Zainazoi. God told them, I'll do it for 45. What happened?
I will not destroy it if I find 45 there, replied God. Abraham persisted and said, suppose there are 40 there.
Is there something going on here in terms of a side dialogue? Because we keep on reducing down. I mean, he agreed. Is he
No,
going
the
out searching?
reducing down is only, according to the Rashi, what's the logic of 40?
8 each.
Just the number 40?
What will be? He has only 40, then how exactly is this going to work?
We drop 10.
So, then what's going to be?
8 righteous in each city. 5 times 8, 40.
What was the logic of 40? 9 you said,
Well,
45 you said because it's 9 in Hashem. What's 40?
40 is
40 years
connected to, well, it's connected to the mikvah, it's connected to...
40 years in Sinai? No.
Now, what do you think going to be, Terry? What are you going to do with 20? What are you going to be to say 10?
Oh, just it's just going to be for 4 cities.
Just for 4 cities. We'll say 4 cities, Abraham said. 4, you'll say 4 cities.
But is he going out and looking and then not finding him and then coming back?
Obviously, he didn't have to look because it was 40 and God told them, trust me, Abraham. Go out, go ahead, go find them. Go ahead. He couldn't find 40. Corey, you want to continue?
Okay. Let not my Lord be angry, but I must speak up. What if there are 30 there? I will not act if I find 30 there.
If he finds Terry, God says, go ahead, Abraham, we'll look for Terry. Cannot find Terry. Go ahead.
Well, what does it mean to be righteous here? I mean, what's the criteria to be righteous?
Hamishim Tzadikim. The only criteria that we have from righteousness at this point is only from Noah, right? What's by Noah is righteousness?
No,
Also, we don't have a criteria. Righteous at that point, before God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, righteousness means not to kill and not to steal and to be honest. Simple, basic, human being behaving. Human being.
The 7
behavior.
Noahide laws, or
The 7 Noahide laws, yeah. At that
Right.
point, there was 7 Noahide laws. After Noah, that was the 7 Noahide laws. Yes.
they were just good people.
Not to. There was also the problem of Sodom and Gomorrah, that they didn't care for the poor. That's why they were destroyed. Giving charity means being tzaddik. Tzaddik and tzedakah is the same word. What does when you read in the prophet that it says that the sin of Sodom stands in front of me, right? Where is who is saying it? Jeremiah. It's written right in the
Haftorah? No.
in the Haftorah, I think also in the Haftorah of the 7 weeks of the 3 weeks before Tisha B'av. We speak about, somewhere there we speak also about Sodom and Gomorrah. Kisdom היינו לעמורה דמינו. Yeah, there is somewhere there.
Why is the prophet saying that?
Page 1223. The iris means it would be destroyed like Sodom. But there is another place also that it says that the people in Sodom, I think it's in Jeremiah. But even from here you can understand it. Well, why? Yeah. You look right here on page 1223, number 9. 1223.
If the Lord of hosts had not left us a few survivors,
Number 9. Yeah.
we would have been like Sodom and similar to Gomorrah.
Continue.
Hear
continue.
God's word, you rulers of Sodom.
Rulers of Sodom, listen to God's law, you people of Gomorrah. What is he telling them about? I don't need your sacrifices. What I want from you?
Listen to God's law, your people of Gomorrah.
Look on page, look on the next page. It goes and tells them what he wants from them. Number 16. Wash yourself, make yourself clean, remove the evil of your doing from before my eyes. Stop doing evil. And then he says, learn to do good, seek justice, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. Basically, take care of the orphans, do justice. Be good. Simple. Not just be good, just don't steal, but I want you to be charitable. That's the opposite of Sodom. Then being righteous means charitable people. Good people, care for others. Being righteous is not enough that I don't take away from you something that doesn't belong to me. Being righteous means tzaddik and tzedakah is the same word. Understand? You have to give tzedakah, you have to be charitable. He couldn't find 20, he couldn't find 10. Why he came up less than 10? Why didn't try 7?
Because in Noah's time, there were at least 8 people, and they weren't enough to save the world.
In Noah's ark, there were 8 people. Who are the 8 people?
Noah, his 3 sons and their wives.
Noah and his wife, and the 3 sons, 3 wives. Who asked if it's only men? You understand? We learn from the story of Noah how Abraham came up with the 10 because 8 was not enough. And 8 there was not only men, 8 righteous people. Right? Then it's not about men, it's 8 good people. The same thing is here, 8, 10 people. That here is the first time we see in the Torah that we're talking about 10. The 10 have a power to save a city. 10 people have a power to save a city. That's unbelievable if you think about it. Where's the next time we see 10 people?
With the brothers. No, with
The brothers
Joseph.
of Joseph. What do you see with the brothers of Joseph?
3,
How many brothers sold Joseph?
9.
2.
9. Huh?
2.
But how many were there in the present?
They all were there.
8.
Except for
for
Reuben.
Benjamin.
Except for Reuben.
No, Reuben was off.
Then how many were there?
Benjamin
Benjamin
was the
wasn't
one out
born
there.
yet.
Yeah.
Benjamin was not there. Benjamin was born.
Always born.
Benjamin was 7 or 10, something like this.
So there would have been 10 there at the time.
10. But on the spot, Reuben was away. It's 9, but Reuben is a little bit of old. But the Torah never says, when it speaks about the selling, how many brothers were there, how many of them did it. Later, in Parshas Miketz, the Torah speaks about when they're going to buy food, right?
They're going to go through the 10 gates.
Then before the 10 gates, page 209, chapter 42, number 1. Start going with the 9 to 8.
Jacob learned that there were provisions in Egypt, and he said to his sons, "Why are you fantasizing? I have heard that there are supplies in Egypt," he explained. "You can go there and buy food. Let us live and not die." Joseph's 10 brothers went to buy grain in Egypt.
Let's stop right here. Joseph's 10 brothers. In Hebrew, it's not so smooth. It's written, if you look on line number 3, you see line number 3, the end of the line, Vayeira. Then line number 4, Achei Yosef, went down, the brother of Joseph, Asara, 10. Who cares? The brothers of Joseph went down. You know from the story, if he didn't allow, he continues, write the next word, that he didn't allow Benjamin to go. That if Joseph is gone, and Benjamin is not allowed to go, and the brother of Joseph went, you know that he went 10. Why the Torah says they went Asara, 10? Because the Torah wants to point out, they believe that because they are going 10 together, they will be able to find Joseph. The power of 10 together, the Minyan, the Yud, 10 together, that will give him the power to find Joseph. The Jerusalem Talmud learns from here the concept of 10, of our Minyan. Because the Torah points out the 10 brothers went. It's really not relevant to the story. Who cares? 10, 8, who cares? The brothers of Joseph went to find bread. Then they read that the brothers which came up in front of him, who cares? Why you add the number? Obviously the number had something to do with it. Because there are 10, they believe they will be able to find them.
I know this is off topic, but I'll mention it because it kind of bothers me sometimes when you learn that the martyrs, the 10 martyrs, I think,
Yes.
are connected
Yes.
to the... Well, that's okay.
The next time that we learn about the Minyan is in the story of the spies. You're right. We will go to the book of Numbers. Shlach, on page 727, I would say. We can start 723. We all know the story. Moses was about to take the Jews to the land of Israel, and they came and they demanded to send spies. The Jewish people demanded. And Moses chose from every tribe one representative. How many he sent? 12. Then they came back, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 said that the land is a good land. Who were the 2?
Caleb and Joshua.
Caleb and Joshua. 10 said that the land is not a good land. What God got upset with them, right? What God wanted to do?
Whoa, that was the one with...
Page
The whole
729.
generation.
729. They cried at that night. Top of the page, you read in 729, chapter 14, number 1.
The entire community raised a hubbub.
What's a hubbub?
Is that Hebrew?
A big commotion.
Yeah.
A pogrom. A demonstration.
How about
More of a demonstration.
Okay.
Lots of noise.
They raised a hubbub and began to shout. That night the people wept.
The people wept that night. We all know that night was
Tisha B'Av.
Tisha B'Av. Later, God gave him good reasons to come. Okay.
All the Israelites complained to Moses and Aaron. The entire community was saying, "We wish we had died in Egypt. We should have died in the desert. Why is God bringing us to this land to die by this sword? Our wives and children will be captives. It would be best to go back to Egypt."
Terrible, right? God was upset with them. God wanted to annihilate the whole nation. Moses told them, Moses pulled out the argument. What was Moses' best argument?
You're going to make God look bad if
In front of whom?
in front of the Gentiles.
In front of the world. How are you going to look like? Even Moses used the
very,
public relation.
very smart.
Oh, Moses is smart, I know.
He's a
Yeah, I
good
also thought about that.
He's a good defense lawyer. Yeah.
Then what God said, okay, I'm not. I accepted your plea. I forgive them. But these people now look page 731, number 26.
God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "How long shall this evil group exist, complaining against me?"
Evil group in Hebrew, it's Ada. Ada means a congregation. Ad matai la'eda. The right translation for this word will be, for how long shall this evil congregation exist? How many people were in this congregation? Then God killed them, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many were in this congregation?
10.
10. From here we learn that a minyan is 10. A congregation is 10. From here we learn it has to be males above bar mitzvah, because they were 10 males above bar mitzvah. That's where the minyan comes from.
It's coming from a source that's not so promising, though.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too. All the three places that we learn about the Minyan is not exciting.
Some people get
The story from Lot, the story from selling Joseph, and the story from the spies. Obviously, the whole idea of the Minyan is to elevate it, is to correct it. It shows you, these three stories shows you how much power a Minyan have for bad and how much power they can have for good. How much power a community has together. Idea of togetherness as Judaism is very powerful. Even learning Torah together is an amazing power. Much more than one learning Torah. The Mishnah says, if 10 שיושבים ועוסקים בתורה, 10 people sit and learn Torah together. Not just pray. Learning Torah together is an amazing power. And the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, he explains that it's written that the Shechina is much stronger, it's present when there is 10 Jews. It doesn't have to be 10 bar mitzvah boys, only then. 10 babies, boys and girls. 10 babies in one room have a strong presence of the Shechina. Because that it goes by the souls. It doesn't go by male, female, bar mitzvah, not bar mitzvah. 10 babies. I saw a video that was taken by a non-Jew. There is in Israel, it's called Vayeira, there is a place. Then mothers, after they give birth, in religious cities, they go to to a place to relax for a few days. Like what it's called?
Spa.
Not like a spa, but
The resort.
a resort type of thing. You go to a home and you relax a little bit for a few days, like you go to a hotel and they just set up for mothers with babies who just give birth to the baby. They have special nurseries for the babies, everything. In a given day, there is like 100 babies there. That's a very normal thing. Before you go home, you are 2 days in the hospital. In the house are waiting for you 5 babies. You cannot come home. That you go for another 4 days. You go to another home where you can relax. Something was made for the mother and the baby. Many times they have a place for breathing there. They can do the breath there. Everything. And you go there, you relax, and then you come home after a few days like a mensch.
How many places are there like this in Israel?
Quite a few. It's an amazing thing. Here, you have to come home. But here, the regular person is coming home. There is nobody home, or maybe one child. But if you have a whole family, then on Shavuot, on Simchas Torah, there is a custom to call up every child for an aliyah, right? What they did, right? There is a custom on Simchas Torah. Every adult gets an aliyah, and every child can be called up to the Torah. Anybody who comes to Simchas Torah will see it. I will call up all the kids to one aliyah. It's called Kol HaNeorim, all the children together. Now what they did there? Now there is, in some synagogues, they have a tradition to close it down. It's more not make noise. Then they gathered all the babies in one room, all the baby boys, and they called them up to the Torah.
The newborn?
Yeah, the newborn. If they had a name, after the breeze,
How cute.
and it was what's going on there, it's just
Oh,
unbelievable.
that's so nice.
And some babies were crying, obviously. It was like 100 people there, in babies on top of babies, like all the cribs, one next to the other. And they call out by name, what is his name, what's his name, what's his name, and they call up it. And then everybody together says a blessing. Probably in the history of Jewish people, it was never such an aliyah. Because the moment a baby if it's a boy, it can be called a dog, but the power of a child, of a neshama, the presence of God, boys, girls, everybody, 10 people. Now, from where comes the whole idea that 10 is so powerful? Why is 10 so powerful?
10 sayings with creation.
Oh, It's all to remind us about the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, God created the whole system in 10. Then when 10 Jews come together to daven, what they remember, what comes to the mind? The Ten Commandments. Not only the Ten Commandments, there is the 10 ordinances that God created the world. He created them with 10 statements. Let's give a look in the beginning. How God created. Where are the 10 ordinances? Page 3. Sometimes it's good to start at the beginning again. Where are the 10? The first one is number 3, right?
Come up again.
Go ahead. Number 3.
God said there shall be light, and light came into existence.
God said on the first day there should be light. We have number 1. Okay, here's the second statement of God. Number 6. God said, you want to read?
God said, "There shall be a sky in the middle of the water, and it shall divide between water and water."
Okay, God said, let there be a sky. Number 2. Where is the third ordinance? Martel, you want to read number 9? God said,
The waters under the heaven shall be gathered to one place, and dry land shall be seen. It happened.
then that's one statement that God said on Tuesday. That's number 3. If you go number 11, continue, number 11.
God said, The earth shall send forth vegetation, seed-bearing plants and fruit trees that produce their own kinds of fruits with seeds.
Then God said on Tuesday, God said, let there be vegetation. What's vegetation? We have 4 statements from God, right? Very nice. We'll continue on number 14 of the same page. Corey, you want to read? God said,
there shall be lights in the heavenly sky to divide between day and night.
continue.
They shall serve as omens and define festivals, days, and years.
Okay, then God said, let there be sun, the moon in the sky, light, and that happened. That was Wednesday, right? We have 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 20. God said,
The water shall teem with swarms of living creatures. Flying creatures shall fly over the land and on the face of the heavenly sky.
God created all the flying creatures, the birds and the fish. That was
Sea monsters.
statement number 6, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Continue.
God said the earth.
Number 24, yeah.
God said the earth shall bring forth particular species of living creatures, particular species of livestock, animals, beasts of the earth.
And it was. That's number 7. God created animals. Then number 8 is at the same page, number 26. God said,
Let us make man with our image and likeness.
let us make man, right?
Mhm.
That's number 8. Beautiful. Here's number 9.
29.
Page 7, number 29. You want to read? God said, number 29.
God said, "Behold, I have given you every seed-bearing plant of the face of the earth, and every tree and has seed-bearing fruit. It shall be to you for food. Put every beast of the
Okay,
field."
then God told them what he's allowed to eat, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That how many we have here?
9.
9. What are you going to do?
There's one before.
Which one?
Before all this. Before I thought that God creates darkness.
Where is
It's
it?
not. It's.
Why are we stopping now?
No more God
There's
said.
There's no
God.
more.
There's no more.
I checked. Oh, Corey, there's no more.
God finished all the work that he had done.
We need a word said.
God said he finished all the work.
That's very nice that you are reading to the story. And
Oral law, right?
then it's written, Bereshis nami maimeru. Bereshis. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Is also a statement of God. How God created it. God said, let there be a world to create heaven and earth.
Why doesn't it say God said that?
That's a plain akasha. First he created, then the details were more God said. But the Talmud says that the creation of the world, in the beginning God created heaven and earth, is considered one of the statements. What it is, the point is, it's 10 statements, and therefore there are 10 commandments. And as we spoke, it's all parallel. God created the world with 10 orderings, and therefore He gave the Torah to the Jewish people with 10 orderings too.
And the the 10 Sifirot,
The 10
That's really-
Sefirot, the
that's-
same
that's-
thing, the same thing.
They derive from the 10 sayings.
The same thing. It's all
It's
a
all-
concept of 10. Everything is in 10. And therefore, we start the Kiddush. How we start the Kiddush every Friday night? We start Kiddush.
First, I don't know.
That's it.
in the
Start
beginning,
In Hebrew, who knows the word, the first word of Kiddush? No?
Ay.
Yom HaShishi, right?
in the beginning, God created
Yeah.
the heavens and the earth.
Yom HaShishi v'yichulu hashamayim. First of all, Kiddush doesn't start by Baruch Atah. There's a whole introduction to it. But in Hebrew, it starts Yom HaShishi.
Right.
If you look in the text, every other days, how God says, and it was evening, it was morning, Yom Echad. It was evening, morning, Yom Sheni, right? Sheni means second day. Shlishi, Revi'i. Comes to Shishi, sixth day, God says Ha-Shishi, not Shishi, but Ha-Shishi. He adds the letter Hey before that. Then the Talmud right away, Rashi jumps on it. What's Ha-Shishi?
Oh, you said this in the Shabbos, your little sermon.
I
Something to
wanted
do with
to see
Mashiach?
how much I remember.
Was it Mashiach?
No.
David Sternberg answered the question. What was the answer?
The answer was, what was the answer? Why is Yom HaShishi? Remember?
Oh, God created, well, the man was created.
Because the sixth day, the Talmud says, it referred to another sixth day. To the sixth day that God gave the Torah. God gave the Torah on the sixth day of Sivan.
Oh, that's right.
And God, so to speak, linked the two events together. The creation of the world and the giving of the Torah. So to speak, the whole purpose of the world is that human beings should accept the Torah. Jews should accept the all 613 commandments, and non-Jews should accept the 7 Noahide laws. But everybody has to accept God. In essence, if the language that the Talmud is using, if the Jews wouldn't want to accept the Torah, the world will be destroyed, so to speak. It means the whole purpose of the world is for the receiving of the Torah, for giving the Torah. It took 2,000 years in between, so be it.
Is that why Exodus 10 Commandments, Deuteronomy 10 Commandments, one is honoring creation and one is honoring the 10 Commandments? The Mount Sinai?
Yes,
the same
very
connection?
good. Yes, the same connection. He has a very good point. And the 10 Commandments, we have two sets, one in Exodus and one in Deuteronomy. When it's written about Shabbos in Exodus, right? It's written, Anochi Hashem it's written, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat Lekadsho. That's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The Shabbos, why you have to observe Shabbat? We'll see it inside, because God created the world in 6 days and rest on the 7th day, right? It's on page 353. Number 8. Martel, you want to read?
Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy.
Why? Continue.
You can work during the 6 weekdays and do all your tasks, but Saturday is the Sabbath to God, your Lord.
Why?
Do
Continue.
not do anything that constitutes work. This includes you, your son, your daughter, your slave, your maid, your animal, and the foreigner in your gates. It was during the 6 weekdays that God made the heaven, the earth, the sea.
Because God made the heaven and the earth in 6 days, and He rested on the 7th day, right? Therefore, God blessed the 7th day and He sanctified, right? He made it shorter for you a little bit, easier. That's the reason here. If you open on page 895 in the book of Deuteronomy, in Parshas V'eschanan, the second Parsha, the 10 Commandments are repeated again, once again. But the reason for Shabbos is a different reason. in the bottom of page 895.
Observe
Yeah.
the Sabbath, to keep it holy, as God your Lord commanded you. You can work during the 6 weekdays and do all your tasks, but Saturday is the Sabbath to God your Lord, so do not do anything that constitutes works.
Continue,
Work.
continue.
This includes you, your son, your daughter.
Your son, your
male,
daughter,
your female
yeah.
slave, your ox, your donkey, your other animals, and the foreigner who is in your gates.
Why? Continue.
Your male and female slaves will then be able to rest just as you do. You must remember that you were slaves in Egypt when God your Lord brought you out.
Aha. You must remember that you are a slave in Egypt. Therefore, continue.
Where am I? Therefore,
Al Kain Tzivcho. It is for this reason that God, your Lord, has commanded you to keep the Shabbos. That we have in the first set of the Ten Commandments that's written that God kept the Shabbos. We have to keep the Shabbos because of the creation. And the second is written about because it's the Exodus of Egypt. They are linked, absolutely. It's one thing. The whole purpose of creation is the Exodus from Egypt. That's why when God introduces himself in the Ten Commandments, what is he says? I'm your God that...
Brought you out of the land of Egypt.
Why not?
Out of
I'm
that
God
bondage.
that created the world. Because that's the ultimate.
That's why there's 10 plagues.
That's one. Everything in the Torah is in 10. There is 10. Everything is 10. That's why I heard from the Rebbe something very interesting. That's why when we shake hand, right? Why we shake hand? God created human beings with 2 hands, 5 fingers,
5 and 5.
and 5 fingers. He didn't create it 6 and 4, 7 and 3. Could be many ways. Why? Because everyone you look on your hand, you remember the 2 tablets. You remember the 10 Commandments. And not only this, you remember the 10 orders God created the world. It's a whole thing. It's all connected. That God didn't rely on us that we should remember the 10 Commandments. He gave it to us. He created us like 2 tablets. Every hand is another tablet. And like you cannot choose the 2 tablets, we all know the first 5 commandments are between man and God, and the other 5 are between man and man, right? Mm-hmm. That many people choose one set. They choose 1 tablet. 2 tablets, it's too heavy. It's 2 stones. It's heavy to carry. I'll carry 1. I like between man and man. I'll do only between man and mitzvah. Man and God, I'll leave to the other guys, to the religious guys. Some religious people are very excited about the mitzvahs and man to God, because the man and man, no, they're not so careful. When you can shake an hand, when you make a deal, when somebody holds the hand, we take 2 hands. When can you applaud? When you have 2 hands. You cannot applaud with 1 hand, right? God forbid somebody has only 1 hand, he cannot applaud. That's one of the things he cannot do. He can shake an hand, but he cannot.
So that's why God didn't put all the commands on one tablet, because the 2 hands, you can remember them that way?
No, God created the hand because the 2 tablets were like this. It's an interesting point that you mentioned. The Torah is the blueprint of the world. It means to say like this. God first wrote the Torah, and then he created the world. He created the world according to the Torah. Because in the Torah there is 2 tablets, and on every tablet there is 5 commandments, that's why he created the human being, that 5 should be in one hand and 5 in another hand. You understand? It's not that because the human being is like this, therefore the Torah was given this way, just the opposite. The Torah was the blueprint. And by the blueprint, that's how he created the world. That's why, and it refers to many little things. I mentioned that many times, once sitting by a doctor, I picked up a pamphlet. They were speaking about snoring. Snoring. What's the best solution for snoring?
Sleeping in
Your wife kicks you out into another bedroom.
in the position, like the fetal position.
What's the best position for snoring? She wakes you up. Snoring, the best thing for snoring, number 1, they say in the olden days they used to tie a stone behind your back that you cannot lay on your back, you sleep on your side. Sleeping on your side is the best solution.
Right.
What's the best solution for a pregnant woman? Not only the best solution, the only solution. How she can sleep on the side. What they say now about babies, how to put babies, they say to put babies on the side. Not on the back, not on the stomach. Jewish law says that a person should sleep on the side. Then what does this mean? God created the world according to Jewish law. That if it's good if Jewish law says that sleeping on the side is the right way, then God made it. God created humanity that sleeping on the side would be the healthy way too. When I do what Hashem wants, I don't compromise anything. I don't compromise my health. I don't compromise my financial world. Oh, if I'll go to daven every day, how am I going to make a living? You will make a living, I promise you. We had so many people by us that they used to work on Saturdays. Now they stopped. They make more money. And they work less. It can't be that doing the will of God will be a contradiction to your well-being or to your financial situation or anything. It's impossible, such a thing. It can't be that spending a half hour praying will take away from your success. Impossible. Because God is the one who told you to daven, to pray, and God is the one who gives you livelihood. Then it cannot be. The world is not really a contradiction to God. We can make it into a contradiction to God in our own mind. Humanity cannot be a contradiction. Not only humanity, the earth, the whole world cannot be a contradiction to God. It's impossible that the world should stop you from, that nature should not allow you to do what Hashem wants. Because the Torah is the blueprint for Judaism, a blueprint for the world, for everything. There is many examples for it. And that's how we look at it. Then if the 10 Commandments, if the 2 tablets are 5 and 5, that's why the ends are 5 and 5. That's how it goes. Then this whole idea of 10, of a minyan, comes from these 3 places in the Torah. And it starts in this week's Parsha. That Abraham, I don't think he had a minyan at that time, but he was already he knew already the concept. It shows that everything starts just all the way from the beginning. It's not like, later it evolved and became more clear and more clear and more clear. But they didn't daven with a minyan, not in the time of Abraham and not in the time of Moses. The whole concept of minyan, nobody davened with a minyan. But it started from there.
When did the minyan start?
When did the minyan start? Probably in the time of the Second Temple. They started to daven. The concept of a shul, of davening, started during the Second Temple. It started basically when the Jewish people went to exile. They didn't have the temple, and they wanted to connect to Hashem. Then they come together and started to have a minyan. Even I think in the first temple, it's considered the Anshe Maimed. The people used to come and represent the community by standing by a community sacrifice. They offered every day a community sacrifice, right, in the morning and the evening, in the name of the all Jewish people. It used to be a group of people who came in front of and every sacrifice you bring, somebody is to put his hand. If it's a private sacrifice, you put your hand on it and you confess. And this sacrifice, they were like the representative of the whole Jewish people. That's how I think it started the whole idea of a synagogue. Then the same people were chosen to be the one representing the Jewish people. The people can make it to Jerusalem, to Jerusalem. The people, it's a whole story. But basically, that's how it started. There is a story I read once a story about a Jew, who was a very secular Jew, Holocaust survivor, came after the Holocaust, he came to Israel. He was a poet and a writer. He came to the Kotel, he came to the wall. It was before the Independence War, when Jews could still go to the wall, right after the Holocaust. Says he came, he looked on the wall, on the Kotel, the Western Wall. He says, it's a wall. He didn't speak to it. He couldn't connect to it. Suddenly somebody pulled him by his sleeve and tells him, can you join us? You are looking for a third person to the minyan. He said in 1 minute he felt connected. The idea of a minyan is an unbelievable idea. What's a minyan? A minyan means that everybody's count equally. 9 Moseses cannot make a minyan. The 10th person might be a criminal. He can be a part of the minyan.
We learned that from the ingredients of the incense.
That's another point. The incense are 11, by the way.
I know that, but I wasn't going to bring up the 11.
But the idea of what I mean to say is, the idea of a minyan is that we count all the Jews. The whole idea of counting the Jews. Why you need to count? What means when I count people means everybody is only one. That's what.
It's the 10 individuals that come together.
They
as
come
one.
together. They create a new identity. That's why the 10th person who comes to the minyan is not just one more. He, by being there, by walking in, created a new concept that it's called a minyan. God listens. Why a minyan? God listens to a minyan more than he listens to individuals. It's like we have the power of when you're representing many people. When you buy in the name of 10 stores of 20 stores, you have much more buying power. When you come in the name, and really a minyan or 1,000 people, the concept is the same. For sure, 1,000 people has more power, but in essence, a minyan has the same ingredients that have 1,000 people.
The minyan, when we have our minyan all the time in the morning, you can say these extra prayers and you can repeat. Because
when Nigdashti b'Torah Bnei Yisrael, it's another place. It's written on the idea in Parshat Kedoshim in the book of Leviticus. It's written to be sanctified. To be sanctified, God says, when can he be sanctified? That you need a minyan for it. The Rabbi says in front of 10 people, when Nigdashti b'Torah Bnei Yisrael, it has to be 10 people. Where is this? It's in Parshas Emuel. Where is it? It's in Parshas. It's written that you have to be sanctified in front among the Jewish people, and we learn from this word from Toch that we learn that it has to be a minyan. In Parshas. I remember. That's not enough in mind.
Are you saying that when you have the 10 in the minyan, then you can say the
you can say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. You can say a Kaddish. Everything that you can say can only be done in a minyan. You cannot say Kaddish at home. You can only say Kaddish in the synagogue. Many times I meet people that tell me, "Oh, I say Kaddish every day." I tell them, "Wow, I'm so impressed." It took me many years to understand that this guy goes to shul every day. That's beautiful.
Why is that a communal prayer as opposed to an individual prayer?
Because what is a Kaddish?
Praising God's name.
In front, when people say Amen, they agree with you. That's the praising. That's what it's all about. You're standing in front of a community and you say, God is great. No matter what happened, God is great. That's what it's all about. That you need to have a community who agrees with you. Mm-hmm. If the community is not there to say Amen, Amen means to agree, then you don't have the effect of it is not there. You understand?
Yeah.
I cannot find it.
What is this plan? Why is it on it?
What? I don't know. I didn't choose it. That I don't know. But the whole idea of Kaddish or Kedusha, for example, Kadosh, 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 you can only do by a minyan. the whole repetition of the Amida could only be done by a minyan.
Where do we learn that the 13 attributes can only be said with a minyan?
The same idea. I mean, it's
Well, I
only,
understand that, but I mean, Moshe basically can do it by himself.
Moshe was speaking to
No,
Hashem.
no, I understand, but
No,
I
it's
mean,
again the power of the minyan makes the 13 attributes so powerful. When you can see it by yourself, you can read it from the Torah. Let's say you want to open the book in the Parshah of Kitisa and to read the 13 attributes. Nobody will stop you. You understand? It's to do it.
Right.
Oh, I found it. Thank God. 621.
6 what?
621.
Oh, I found it too.
Number 32.
Who read that? What page?
621, number in top of the
Oh, on
page.
top. Did you
Number
read that?
32. Do not
to
go ahead.
concentrate, do not desecrate my holy name. I will be sanctified among the
I
Israelites.
must be sanctified among the Israelites. In Hebrew it's ונקדשתי בתוך בני ישראל. From there we learn the word, they compare the word toch with another place it's written toch, and there it talks about a minyan. Then they compare it, and basically from here they learn that to be sanctified, God says I need to be sanctified among the Jewish people. What means among the Jewish people? Within people. Within a group of people, God wants you to be sanctified. It has to be, then we look, the rabbis learn that you have to have 10.
That's the Torah source for the Kaddish on the sanctification. 'Cause I know it's in
Yes.
Daniel and Ezekiel.
Yes,
a bunch of
yes,
other
yes,
places.
yes. Basically from the Torah, I think that's the only place, yes. I don't think there's another place.
Excuse me. So if 10 Jewish men of bar mitzvah age are at the corner bar in Tel Aviv wasting time, is it a worse waste of time? Or 10 criminals get together, are they a worse group of criminals, or is it just for prayer?
No, it's actually, they have God among them, even them. They have a stronger presence of God. To a point, yeah, it's worse because they have a stronger presence of God and they don't do anything with it. You understand what I'm saying? But they 10, not even 10 men above mitzvah, 10 women sitting in a bar. They have a stronger presence of God. 10 souls, 10 Jewish souls together. So it's already a stronger presence of God. The whole concept of 10 brings. Then there is a Shechina Shruya. There is the Shechina. That's what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya. That's what he points out. That 10 people together bring it. Have already a stronger presence of God, and they have more power to do many more things.
It's interesting.
Why?
And I was just thinking how fortunate you are.
What do you mean? To be 10 and to have the power.
A family, I think, right?
Or my family. I mean, when they're together, it's 10. That's the idea of 10. Now we know what 10 is, and now every time we look on our fingers, he knows what's supposed to remind us. Even the toes.